Okay, let's unpack this. Because if you are still operating with the playbook that frames video games as some kind of niche hobby,
Right, for teenagers in the basement.
exactly that, or,
Yeah.
maybe just as another channel to stick an ad in, if that's still your mindset, you are ignoring what is, without a doubt, the dominant consumer touchpoint of the 21st century.
It really is. We're not talking about a small corner of the entertainment world anymore.
Not at all. We're talking about what's become a primary strategic pillar for modern customer engagement.
Exactly right. And, high-performing companies, they've already recognized this. They know that ignoring gaming is, well, it's basically like ignoring the majority of their current and future customers.
It's like ignoring the internet in 1999.
That's a great way to put it. And the source material you shared on this is just immense. It details how companies are integrating, creating, and leveraging video game mechanics. So our mission today is really to synthesize all of that. We want to move beyond the headlines and lay out the foundational knowledge,
Psychological stuff.
the psychology, the specific strategic roadmaps, and maybe most importantly, the organizational requirements you need to actually make gaming a success for your business.
And to really show you the immediate high-stakes financial reality of this market, I think we have to jump straight to a story from the world of luxury fashion.
Oh, Burberry.
Burberry. So when they first approached Mythical Games, the studio behind this blockchain game called Blanco's Block Party, they were serious. They wanted to launch a new digital fashion line.
And this wasn't just, slapping a logo on something.
No, the concept was a limited edition character, a little guy known as Sharky B, and you could customize him with virtual Burberry items right from their physical 2021 summer collection.
Things like jetpacks and branded accessories, I remember.
Exactly. Jetpacks, unique shoes, all virtual.
It was a very bold move at the time. They were leveraging Web3 technology, which we'll definitely dive into later, to enforce what was true digital scarcity.
So it wasn't just a copy-paste image.
No, each one was unique on the blockchain. And what's really crucial to understand here is the price point they set. The team settled on $299.99 per digital character.
That's orders of magnitude higher than a typical in-game purchase, right?
Oh, absolutely. This wasn't meant for the mass market. It was a clear signal of exclusivity, just like their physical goods. It had to feel premium.
And yet, the demand was just instantaneous.
Yeah.
They released only 750 of these unique digital characters. And they sold out in a dizzying 22 seconds.
22 seconds. Just think about that.
It's hard to even process.
It is. That's $225,000 in revenue generated in less than 1 minute. And like you said, the immediate cash flow was great, sure. But the true strategic victory was the psychological proof point.
Right.
It demonstrated definitively that this kind of digital exclusivity signaled the exact same premium experience, that same sense of belonging to a special club, that their $5,000 trench coats offer.
So they'd found a way to translate that core brand value into a completely new medium.
Authentically. They reached a new, vital, and highly engaged digital audience, and in doing so, they transformed what would have been a passive marketing expense into an active revenue stream.
And that, for you, the listener, is the core takeaway right from the very start. Consumers, and particularly younger generations, are prioritizing these personalized, deeply immersive experiences that convey status and belonging.
And that shift in consumer engagement is now utterly unignorable.
Which is exactly where we need to begin our deep dive.
So the foundational reality we just have to accept is that the media channels that, dominated the entire 20th century.
The old playbook.
The old playbook. It's fundamentally failing to meet modern consumer expectations. People want personalization, they want deep interactivity, they want real-time community engagement, and traditional media just can't deliver that.
And one of the most striking findings in the source material for me was just the sheer speed of the decline.
It's accelerating.
Hugely. We saw data showing that between just 2020 and 2024, daily TV consumption dropped by a staggering 21%.
21% in 4 years. That's not a slow decline, that's an erosion.
It's a massive erosion of the traditional advertising landscape. And if you zoom out a bit, cable TV subscriptions in the U.S. are down nearly 35% since 2010.
So those tried and true marketing playbooks are just losing their reach and their relevance faster and faster.
And this vacuum of attention is being filled and filled decisively.
Right, because while that traditional consumption shrinks, digital media consumption is slated to increase by 28% between 2020 and 2026.
And what's driving that increase? It isn't just scrolling Instagram or watching YouTube.
No, the key driver pushing that gap wider is overwhelmingly video games, because they offer a completely different level of interaction than passive media. It's active, not passive.
Which brings us to this idea of the ubiquity of the modern gamer. And we absolutely have to smash that outdated stereotype.
Oh, we have to. The isolated, homogenous individual in the basement.
It's gone. Gaming is now the most pervasive form of digital culture, period. The scale is just breathtaking. 3.3 billion people play video games almost daily in 2024.
Stop and think about that number for a second. 3.3 billion.
It's almost half the planet.
It represents roughly 60% of the entire global internet-connected population. So we're not talking about a niche segment here. We are talking about the digital commons. This is where people gather.
And the beauty of this scale is that you don't even need to use the label gamer to be counted in that number.
Not at all.
Just look at the sheer success of these accessible, casual titles. Candy Crush Saga maintains about 270 million monthly players.
Which is a huge number on its own.
And then you have titles like 2048, Wordle, Royal Match. These are played ubiquitously. It's the game people pull out while they're waiting for a train or standing in line at the coffee shop.
We have that great anecdote in the sources about the 65-year-old father-in-law who is completely addicted to Royal Match.
I love that story.
Pulling out his phone for just a few quick minutes of play right in the middle of a dinner party. He would never call himself a gamer.
Of course not.
But his behavior pattern, his engagement, highlights that this is now a multi-generational and a gender-neutral force.
The data on that is really clear. 48% of all U.S. gamers are female.
Nearly half.
And furthermore, the age group that has seen the biggest growth in engagement over the last 2 decades is 50 and older. It's grown from 17% of the gaming population in 2004 to 29% in 2024.
So the generation that grew up dropping quarters into Pac-Man machines and arcades, they're now retirees. And they're still playing. This cements gaming as this cross-demographic global phenomenon.
So we know the audience is there. It's huge. It's diverse. But why are games the optimal new touch point for businesses?
Right. What's the mechanism?
It fundamentally comes down to the experiential economy and this really dramatic shift in digital purchase behavior. Consumers, especially Gen Z and millennials, are explicitly prioritizing these personalized, deeply immersive experiences over just accumulating more physical stuff.
And the data really supports this preference for personalization. 80% of customers are significantly more likely to purchase when companies offer personalized and interactive experiences.
And Gen Z, they're the ones leading the charge. They're normalizing the monetization of purely digital assets. A full 65% of Gen Zers spend money on virtual items that exist only inside a game.
They just value digital identity, status signaling, and that sense of community belonging more highly than many previous generations did. The virtual world is just as real to them.
That valuing of digital scarcity and experience is the fundamental shift. But here's the data point. This is the one that I think truly converts a skeptical executive.
I know which one you mean.
86% of consumers who purchased a virtual item inside a video game also purchased the corresponding physical item.
That's the one. That is the conversion factor every company should be obsessing over.
It's incredible.
Because when you buy those exclusive Nike sneakers for your avatar in a virtual world like Roblox or Fortnite, you're establishing this emotional and identity-based connection to that item.
You've already worn it, in a sense.
Exactly. You've reduced the psychological risk of the purchase because you've already tested that status signal digitally. And now you are exponentially more likely to buy those same sneakers in real life. The digital asset isn't just an ad.
Yeah.
It's an immersive, personalized, and crucially, a revenue-generating commercial touchpoint.
And despite this massive cultural and financial link, for the longest time, the gaming industry was this, $200 billion gorilla hiding in plain sight.
It really was.
It just failed to receive the strategic recognition it deserved because I think many executives simply didn't understand the true scale.
And often, that misunderstanding stemmed from a really common mistake. They confused the entire industry with just one small slice of it, esports.
Right, I've heard it so many times. The executive strategy for getting into gaming is just sponsoring a competitive team.
And that belief is just so dangerously limiting. Competitive gaming, esports, it's just one sliver of the market.
Tiny sliver.
The core gaming audience, those 3.3 billion people we mentioned, is about 6 times larger in reach than the competitive viewing audience.
6 times.
And the money generated from core gaming, largely through that in-app purchase model we'll explore, is roughly 100 times larger than what is attributed just to esports revenue.
100 times.
Yeah.
That puts it in perspective.
It does, and you see the scale of this commitment reflected now in major corporate decisions. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard in 2023 for $68.7 billion. That was the largest acquisition in the computing giant's entire history.
And that wasn't a bet on competitive viewing.
Not at all. It was a bet on capturing a piece of that massive, ubiquitous core gaming audience and integrating it deeply into their future computing and content platforms. It signals the level of strategic commitment that's now required to even compete in this space.
Okay, so let's detail the 5 factors that really created this undeniable tipping point. The things that shifted gaming from a niche hobby to an essential strategic tool for relevancy.
All right, driver number 1, the pandemic spotlight. Now, COVID-19 didn't cause the boom.
No, the market had already doubled in the decade before that.
Right. But what it did do was shine this undeniable spotlight on the industry's influence. As physical interaction shut down, digital communities became the primary source of connection for millions of people. And that accelerated the visibility of gaming as this vital social and entertainment hub.
Okay, driver number 2, mobile ubiquity. I think this one is maybe the most important. About 12 years ago, gaming was primarily sequestered to expensive consoles and dedicated PCs.
High barrier to entry.
Very high. But mobile technology just shattered that barrier. It transformed gaming into a mainstream, accessible activity for anyone with a smartphone.
And the data confirms this. 79% of players use their mobile devices for gaming.
79%.
Compare that to only 9% or 8% who play solely on consoles or PCs, respectively. This accessibility is what made that $3.3 billion figure even possible.
Everyone have a console in their pocket now.
They do. The third driver is decisive legitimization. Games are no longer just entertainment. They are proven tools across so many utilitarian sectors.
We see the evidence everywhere now.
You do. Filament games creating successful learning curricula that are integrated into schools. You have the first FDA-approved video game treatment for ADHD, which is called Endeavor RX.
Which is incredible.
And, of course, their proven utility in recruitment and in the luxury sector with brands like Gucci and Louis Vuitton. This has permanently shifted the narrative from time wasted to time well spent.
All right, driver number 4 is intensified competition for a very specific, very valuable demographic. Gen Z.
The future high-value customer.
Exactly. The source material is crystal clear on this. Gen Z spends 40% more time in games than in any other digital medium.
40% more. That's where their attention is.
So if you're serious about building enduring brand awareness and loyalty with those future customers, the ones who will eventually buy high-end cars or luxury goods, you have to be in the game ecosystem. You have to be building those relationships now, long before they graduate to those consumption levels.
Games have become an essential tool for future relevancy.
Absolutely.
And finally, driver number 5 is the closing skills gap. This is a big one. A decade ago, organizations really struggled to execute successful gaming strategies because the required expertise was locked away in these specialized studios.
Right. You mentioned Unilever's failed attempts back in 2012.
Exactly, and that was partly due to a lack of internal capabilities. But that's changing, and rapidly. We now see major non-gaming companies like Peloton actively recruiting former video game producers and designers like Jim Green to lead their interactive divisions.
So the talent is moving out of the traditional studios.
It is. This infusion of genuine game development talent is what makes success in this space vastly more attainable and repeatable today than it was even 5 years ago.
So to really leverage this space effectively, you have to understand the underlying psychological engine that makes games so incredibly powerful. And it's not just about flashy graphics or, big explosions.
No, not at all. It's about attention and flow.
Flow. Let's talk about that.
The foundational concept here is flow, a term first articulated by the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi.
Right.
And he defined it as the state of intense, contented focus. It's an optimal state of intrinsic motivation where a person is so absorbed in an activity that they completely lose track of time.
We've all felt that, I think.
Absolutely. And crucially, flow occurs when a person perceives a high level of challenge that is perfectly matched by their perceived level of skill.
So not too hard that it's frustrating and not too easy that it's boring.
Exactly. That perfect balance. And this is what games are explicitly engineered to provide. The player is deeply involved, their attention is fully invested, and they achieve this sense of active, conscious control over their environment.
Which is why the sources consistently highlight this powerful contrast between passive media and active media.
Right. Passive media consumption, particularly that endless scrolling on social media, has been linked in many studies to increased rates of anxiety, depression, and attention degradation.
You feel worse after you do it.
Often, yes. Conversely, active forms of media, like video games, have been shown to improve cognitive functions. Things like attention, memory, and spatial reasoning, precisely because they require the brain to operate in that high-skill, high-challenge state of flow.
This state of deep engagement is why way back in 2018, Reed Hastings, who was then the CEO of Netflix, he referred to the game Fortnite as the company's main competition.
Not HBO or another streaming service.
No, not HBO, not Disney Plus, Mitchie, a video game. He recognized that the ultimate battle was for consumers' finite time and that games are just structurally superior at capturing sustained, active attention over long term.
So to understand how they achieve that sustained attention, we need to look at the fundamental design architecture. Katie Salen and Eric Zimmerman defined a game as, and I quote, a system in which players engage in an artificial context defined by rules that results in a quantifiable outcome.
And the key word there is system. It's not random.
It's a system, and at the heart of that system is probably the most powerful mechanism for behavior change that exists, the game loop.
Okay, so break that down for me. What does a game loop actually look like in practice?
It's a systematic structure that has three core components: challenge, reward, and progression.
Challenge, reward, progression.
Think about Wordle. The challenge is guessing the 5-letter word. The immediate reward is seeing those green letters appear when you get one right.
That little dopamine hit.
Exactly. And the progression is tracking your daily streak and, improving your overall puzzle-solving skill over time.
I see. So it's a constant cycle.
It's a loop that creates momentum and drives persistence. Every system, from the most complex multiplayer role-playing game to the simplest mobile puzzle, uses this architecture. And it's this repeatable, measurable system that creates the sustained attention you need for successful, long-term customer relationships, rather than just transactional engagement.
And if we're talking about long-term customer relationships and sustaining billions in revenue, we have to talk about the free-to-play model, F2P.
The monetization goldmine.
It really is. F2P completely revolutionized the industry because it offered the lowest possible barrier to entry. The game is free.
Anyone can start playing.
Anyone.
Yeah.
But it maximizes the engagement and monetization opportunities through what are called in-app purchases, or IAP.
And this shift fundamentally moved the business model from selling a one-time physical product for, say, $70 to selling perpetual experiences and virtual goods.
And the scale of that shift is just staggering.
It is. Activision Blizzard, for example, generated over $5 billion in 2021 from in-app purchases in their F2P games alone.
$5 billion.
Which accounted for more than 60% of their total revenue that year. That is a complete strategic transformation from product delivery to service delivery.
So this perpetual revenue stream, it relies on this model of games as a service, right?
Exactly. It means the content is continually updated daily, weekly, or monthly, with new challenges, new rewards, and, of course, new things to buy. This constant refreshment keeps players in that game loop and opens up consistent, non-friction generating space for monetization.
So for brands that are looking to integrate into this world, understanding the anatomy of that F2P economy is critical.
It's essential. There are three core categories of in-game currencies or assets that really facilitate this IAP model.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, you have soft currencies. These are the easy-to-acquire assets. You earn them through core gameplay, like collecting coins or achieving minor goals.
And what do you use those for?
They're exchanged for minor rewards, temporary boosts, or consumables that support continuous play. They serve to reinforce that short-term reward loop and keep you playing.
Got it. Okay, number two.
Second, you have hard currencies. These are often given out in very small, controlled amounts to sort of initiate the purchasing behavior.
Like a free sample?
A bit like that, yes.
Huh.
But their primary source is real money transactions. You use hard currency to buy substantial in-game rewards, big advantages, or access to exclusive content. This is the direct revenue driver.
And the third type?
And third, you have durables. These are the permanent cosmetic items that enable deep personalization and customization of a player's avatar or their environment.
So this is where the Burberry Blancos would fit in.
Exactly. The Burberry Blancos, those exclusive digital sneakers, unique virtual homes, they fall into this category. They signal status and belonging, and critically, because they are permanent, they drive sustained long-term engagement as the player continues to show them off in the game world.
That makes sense.
Now, before we move on, I think we need a quick clarification on a related term: gamification.
Right, because it gets thrown around a lot.
It does, and it's often mistakenly seen as merely adding what some people call digital confetti, just slapping on leaderboards and superficial points.
But the sources emphasize that true gamification is much deeper than that.
Much deeper. It's the deep application of game design principles: goals, rules, interactions, rewards to systems that are otherwise utilitarian.
And a perfect demonstration of this depth is the email app Superhuman.
Great example.
Its CEO, Rahul Vora, is a former game designer. And he didn't just bolt on points and badges to email. He built the entire service around 7 core game design principles.
He recognized that the goal of email getting to inbox 0 was a quantifiable outcome, but the process of getting there was incredibly tedious for most people.
So by designing the email flow with clear, achievable goals, immediate feedback systems, and balancing that perceived skill of mastering keyboard shortcuts with the high challenge of a constant influx of communication.
He intentionally triggers that desired state of flow. And the result is a utility tool that is genuinely engaging. It feels good to use. And that allows it to capture attention and command a premium price in what is an otherwise very crowded workplace application market.
So if you, the listener, are considering building your own game or even just integrating into one, you have to manage your expectations.
Yeah.
And that means understanding the complex and inherently iterative process of game development.
Absolutely. This is not traditional linear software development. It's a creative process, as Jim Green from Peloton really emphasized.
It's not a straight line from A to B.
Not at all. The process is generally broken down into 6 stages, and the key insight is that creativity and uncertainty are just baked into the process.
So stage 1 is ideation.
Right. Defining your target audience, the core fun mechanic, the key features, the art style. For the Boston Consulting Group, or BCG team, this stage resulted in the very unlikely concept of using a simple lemonade stand simulation to teach executives highly complex business strategies.
Which sounds completely counterintuitive.
It does, but they had to simplify the complex idea without losing its strategic rigor. That was the ideation challenge.
Now, the most challenging phase, especially for non-gaming businesses, is often stages 3 and 4, pre-production and production.
This is where the critical work of prototyping and soft launches happens. It's all about testing product-market fit. Game developers have a name for this phase.
Finding the fun.
Finding the fun, exactly. You might spend 3 months prototyping an idea and then realize the core mechanic just doesn't work. It's not fun, and that requires a pivot.
Which, for companies used to predictable development cycles, must feel chaotic.
It does, but it's absolutely invaluable for de-risking the eventual launch. You find the failures early and cheap.
And we saw this with the Peloton example. Their initial game, Lane Break, was a skunkworks effort.
Right. A small, dedicated team working outside the usual corporate process.
And they developed this game-inspired workout. And that effort tested overwhelmingly positive during its external beta launch. It clocked in at 4.5 out of 5 stars for satisfaction.
So that high level of validated enthusiasm reduced the massive risk before they invested millions in a global rollout. They knew people wanted it.
And finally, stage 6, live operations. This is critical because under that games as a service model, games are never really done.
No, the launch is just the beginning.
This phase involves continuous maintenance, enhancement, and advancement through daily or weekly content updates. Jonathan Knight, the head of games at the New York Times, he views this consistent content pipeline as a powerful engine for driving daily habits for their subscribers. It keeps the relationship going 365 days a year.
And that leads to a really crucial point about integration versus creation.
Right, build versus buy.
Exactly. Even massive companies with deep pockets and huge intellectual property catalogs can really struggle with in-house development. Disney's history with games has been a financial and strategic roller coaster.
Marked by huge layoffs and pivots.
Because, as they eventually admitted, they just weren't particularly good at self-publishing.
So their strategy has shifted dramatically since then.
It has. Instead of attempting to do it all themselves, they made a massive $1.5 billion investment in Epic Games to collaborate on a new entertainment universe tied to Fortnite.
which underscores this necessity of knowing your organizational strengths and often strategically leveraging best-in-class partners who already understand all the nuances of this ecosystem.
Sometimes the smartest move is not to build it yourself.
Okay, so moving from the fundamentals to more actionable strategy, it's critical to remember the two non-negotiable pillars of success,
Yeah.
regardless of the path you choose.
And these are so important. First, you need a clear, deep understanding of your customer's psychological needs and desires.
And second,
Second, you must possess a clear brand identity that translates authentically into the game environment, because as we've seen, gamers have a sixth sense for when they're being played.
they can smell a marketing ploy from a mile away.
They really can.
So let's start with the path of lowest barrier to entry and highest potential reach. Strategy 1. Integrate with existing games.
The core principle here is simple. Find a game platform that already hosts your ideal audience and offers an authentic brand alignment, and then move beyond just passive advertisements.
And MasterCard is a real pioneer here with their partnership with Riot Games.
The developer of League of Legends, or LOL, one of the world's most popular competitive games.
And their goal wasn't just to sell more credit cards, it was to build authentic, deep loyalty with Gen Z and millennial audiences who are, traditionally very difficult to reach through financial services advertising.
And their approach went so far beyond just slapping a logo on a tournament banner.
Oh, way beyond. They integrated financially. They rewarded customers with Riot Cash, which is the in-game currency, for purchases made using these LOL-themed passion cards.
So the more you spent in the real world, the more you got in the game world.
Exactly. And cardholders also got exclusive access to tournament events, discounted merchandise, and unique digital perks.
And the outcome was a direct, measurable financial return and a huge increase in loyalty. MasterCard achieved an impressive 80% renewal rate on those LOL-themed credit cards.
80%. That's a sticky product.
It shows that gaming isn't just a marketing channel. It's a 365-day-a-year financial integration that locks customers into a loyalty loop that is inherently rewarding to them.
Another great example of starting small and scaling authentically is Chipotle.
I love this one.
They began really cautiously. They sponsored popular esports streamers who had already organically integrated the product. I mean, they were already eating burritos on camera in their gaming houses while live streaming to millions of followers.
So Chipotle just validated that their customer and the gaming community already had this huge, authentic overlap. The connection was already there.
And once that was validated, they went bold. They scaled up on the massive platform Roblox. For Halloween, they transformed their popular offline burrito event into a digital experience called the Burrito Maze and Burrito Builder.
And the key mechanism here was that the virtual rewards-like accessories for your Roblox avatar, they translated directly into real-world transactions. They gave away $1 million in free burritos that could be redeemed in-store or online.
The results were just phenomenal.
Cool.
Over 5.2 million gameplays in the first week. October 31st, 2021 became one of Chipotle's most successful digital sales days ever.
And crucially, the campaign drove a massive boost in enrollment for their rewards program, which contributed to their tens of millions of active members and really cemented digital sales as a third of their overall, nearly $11 billion in revenue.
Wow.
Now, integration can also be used for powerful social impact, what we call purpose play.
Right.
Unilever's Dove brand, they partnered with Epic Games, but not just to create content for one game, but to influence the foundational assets of the Unreal Engine itself.
Which is the second most used game development engine in the world.
Globally, yes. So they realized that 74% of girls wished female characters in games were more realistically represented, not, overly sexualized or conforming to impossible beauty standards.
So Dove created the Real Virtual Beauty Collection. This was a set of diverse character art and developer trainings, and this collection was integrated directly into the Unreal Engine's foundational asset library.
So their strategy was infrastructural. By affecting the engine itself, they influenced thousands of independent developers creating their own games, ensuring that diverse, realistic avatars became the default, not the exception.
And did it work commercially?
It did. The campaign contributed to a significant increase in Dove Shampoo's brand power score, demonstrating that authenticity and purpose really do drive commercial success.
And similarly, Reckitt's Dettol hygiene brand, they faced the challenge of making basic hygiene education relevant to a younger digital audience.
Not the most exciting topic.
No. So they deployed the Dettol Hygiene Quest on Roblox. This is a short 3-minute experience where players fought germs using a digital sword.
And while it sounds like just pure entertainment, it was designed with a very clear, measurable outcome. They surveyed 20,000 players and found that the experience drove players' hand-washing knowledge up by an impressive 19.7%.
That's a significant educational lift from a 3-minute game.
It is. This short, fun experience accumulated 268,000 hours of total engagement, which amounts to over 30 years of education time. It proved that the fun of the game loop is exponentially more scalable for educational purposes than traditional methods.
Okay, so let's move to strategy 2. Create new video game experiences. This is obviously more costly, it's riskier, it requires that specialized talent we talked about.
But the core payoff is total control.
Right.
Total control over the immersive experience allows for perfect alignment with your brand goals, and it generates invaluable first-party data.
And the New York Times is just a masterful example of this strategy. It was all driven by their pivot to a digital subscription model.
They realized they needed high engagement content that drove daily user habits and attracted new audiences, and they operated under this explicit principle of time well spent.
Now, while the acquisition of Wordle was a massive accelerator, instantly bringing millions of daily users into their ecosystem,
Their internal strategy proved to be equally successful. They invested in their in-house gaming studio, which resulted in the launch of their word association game Connections.
and Connections was strategically built to provide a different kind of cognitive challenge than Wordle. It's less about your language depth, more about lateral pattern recognition.
So this portfolio approach created a richer daily habit loop. It allowed players who finished Wordle to immediately transition to a new challenge within the same app.
And the success was immediate. Connections attracted 10 million weekly players in just 3 months. It became the second most popular game in their portfolio and fundamentally contributed to the NYT crossing that 10 million digital subscriber threshold.
It was a huge success.
Another fascinating case here is NASCAR. They were facing declining fandom and an aging audience. They needed a way to engage a younger, digitally native crowd.
So they decided to invest heavily in the iRacing simulation, creating a professional esports series with a substantial $500,000 prize pool.
And the unique value of this investment lies in the incredible convergence of the virtual and the physical.
Right, iRacing is a highly realistic simulation. It's not an arcade game.
Not at all. So NASCAR isn't just selling branded content. They are creating a legitimate professional pipeline. As one executive noted, unlike other sports where, playing a video game doesn't make you a professional athlete.
These simulations are so realistic, they allow fans to train the exact muscle memory needed for the sport in real life. It effectively turns fans into potential industry professionals, bridging that gap between passive consumption and active participation.
Okay, now let's jump into strategy 3, leveraging Web3 games. This strategy is still nascent, a bit on the cutting edge, but it offers tremendous potential.
Because the core principle is introducing verified digital ownership and scarcity via blockchain technology. It's often referred to as play to own.
So what does that mean in practice?
It means players truly own, can sell, and can trade their digital assets. And this creates deep, long-tail engagement and value retention that just wasn't possible before.
And Starbucks Odyssey is the perfect example of applying Web3 to fundamentally upgrade a traditional loyalty program.
It is. Starbucks recognized they needed to engage customers outside of that transactional touchpoint of just ordering coffee. So they built a platform where members complete these interactive quizzes, games, and challenges. They call them quests.
And in return,
They collect journey stamps, which are NFTs that have a scarcity value based on their rarity.
And these stamps, they're not just digital collectibles. They serve as access passes, unlocking exclusive online and offline experiences.
Right. For high-tier members, this could mean virtual classes, meetings with the coffee procurement team, or even physical trips to a coffee farm in Costa Rica. It creates this multi-layered reward system that values community and experience over just discounts.
And the financial impact validated this scarcity model immediately.
Instantly. The highly exclusive $100 Siren Collection stamp sold out in 18 minutes, and they later resold on secondary NFT markets for up to $1,500. So this strategy is now central to Starbucks' ambition of doubling its rewards membership to 75 million people globally by 2028. It turns a loyalty program into an asset-holding community.
And Puma, they used Web3 to overcome the physical limitations of their exclusive product launches.
Right. Historically, launching a limited edition sneaker means long lines, limited geography, and a lot of disappointed customers who miss out.
So Puma's Black Station and Black Station 2 projects created these fully immersive virtual shopping experiences that were accessible to anyone, anywhere in the world.
And customers could browse, they could purchase digital goods, and in some cases, use the NFT as a pass to claim the corresponding physical sneaker later.
And the resulting engagement was transformative. Shopping sessions in Black Station 2 were recorded as being 3 times longer than those on Puma.com.
Which showcases sustained, high-quality, high-intent digital engagement. They're not just clicking around, they're immersed.
Finally, we arrive at strategy 4, making the video game the product. This is the most disruptive approach. This is where the game fundamentally reshapes the business model and becomes the primary delivery system for the service itself.
And Peloton's Lane Break is a prime example. They realized that a massive portion of their potential market was just completely uninterested in the emotional connection of an instructor-led workout.
They didn't want the coach.
They didn't want the coach. So Lane Break was designed as a pure game, a rhythmic, on-rails racing experience specifically to capture that segment.
So the game became a critical, differentiated part of the fitness product.
And the results showed that for 50% of the customer segment it was targeted at, Lane Break became their dominant workout form. It boosted critical key performance indicators like time spent on the bike, frequency of workouts, and overall adherence to the product ecosystem. For them, the game is the value proposition.
And for a B2B service example, we have to look at the Boston Consulting Group's strategy simulation. Your strategy needs a strategy.
The authors, including Martin Reeves, they needed a way to make these highly complex business strategy concepts like classical planning versus adaptive strategy tangible and applicable for high-level executives. They recognized that theoretical books just weren't cutting through the noise anymore.
So they created a serious simulation using the highly accessible format of a lemonade stand to illustrate strategic decision-making amid changing market volatility.
And executives could run the simulation and immediately see the results of using, say, a purely classical planning approach in a highly adaptive market, or vice versa. It made the complex tangible and memorable.
And the commercial success was substantial. It broke through the crowded thought leadership market. It served as a magnet for recruiting top talent from business schools, and it was massively scaled internally for their own employee training.
BCG fundamentally gamified a highly abstract B22B service, and in doing so, proved that active engagement is superior to passive learning, even for C-suite education.
And perhaps the most forward-looking application of this strategy is BMW's second living room vision.
This is fascinating.
They are strategically preparing for the massive disruption of autonomous driving, which is going to free up to 2 hours of commuting time daily for their customers. And the battle is already on to define what the interior experience of a luxury car will become.
And BMW's solution was to integrate the Air Console platform directly into their infotainment system. And they did this by utilizing the customer's personal smartphones as controllers.
Which was a really strategic calculation. Competitors like Tesla were using expensive, power-draining graphics cards and high-end dedicated controllers.
Right. But Air Console offered accessibility, it required less power, and it leveraged devices the driver already owned and knew how to use.
So they showcased this in-car gaming platform featuring games like Car Party and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire at Gamescom 2023. This isn't about selling games.
No, it's about defining the car's interior as a second living room. It's about closing the gap on competitors and ensuring that BMW captures the consumer's newfound free time during transit. It's a battle for attention. So if you are going to pursue any of these strategies, whether you're integrating or creating, you need a fundamental shift in your internal mindset. You have to be prepared to unlearn to learn and completely abandon the traditional push advertising playbook.
Absolutely. The very first step is just acknowledging that you are entering a community, not just another channel.
That's key.
And a huge challenge, given the inherent creative uncertainty of game development, is setting clear, aligned goals. Because ideation and prototyping can take months without a polished product to show for it.
So you have to be explicit about the business outcomes you want to drive before you dive into development. Are you looking for retention like the NYT, brand advocacy like Dove, or direct revenue like Burberry? That clarity becomes your anchor in a chaotic process.
And this leads directly to the #1 reason these projects fail.
A lack of deep, authentic audience understanding.
We cannot stress this enough. It is so ineffective to rely solely on demographic profiling in this nuanced space. You have to move to psychological or psychographic profiling.
Let's revisit that famous thought experiment here because it just crystallizes the danger of demographics perfectly.
Okay.
Imagine your target profile is male, born in 1948, raised in the UK, married twice, lives in a castle, wealthy and famous.
Right, I'm with you.
Now, based purely on those demographics, a marketer might confidently design a luxury simulation game about aristocratic living or, historic strategy.
Makes sense.
But that identical demographic profile describes both King Charles III of England and the musician Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness.
Right, two very different people.
Their psychological profiles, their core motivations, their values, their personality traits are drastically different. King Charles likely values things like reliability, tradition, and feeling heard. Ozzy Osbourne values creativity, transformation, humor, and mastery.
So a game strategy designed to target both of them using only demographics is guaranteed to fail one, if not both of them.
Because it misses the fundamental human desire that's driving the play.
So authenticity requires connecting your game strategy to a fundamental human need.
Whether it's mastery, achievement, affiliation, or self-expression. And you have to align that need perfectly with your brand values.
United Airlines, for instance, they created games modeled after pilot training and flight simulators that fit perfectly with their core brand value of safety, and it promoted customer empathy for the complexity of air traffic control.
Similarly, BMW, before they integrated games into their dashboards, they had to seriously deliberate internally. Was their brand playful enough to stay true to their luxury, engineering-focused identity?
And they settled on games that were accessible and collaborative, matching that social living room concept. As Jonathan Knight says, consumers can sniff out when things are not authentic.
Looking forward, the future is really defined by a massive convergence and deep gamification. The virtual world is becoming deeply integrated with the physical.
The lines are blurring.
They are. Tracking capabilities are improving rapidly. Companies like Vans have started successfully linking traffic from their virtual world on Roblox directly to increase store visits, proving the commercial efficacy of their digital presence.
And this convergence offers huge benefits in new product development. Games are increasingly being used to de-risk R&D.
How so?
Well, fashion companies can launch entirely virtual collections and use community voting user-generated content, or UGC, to validate demand, refine their designs, and adjust quantities before they ever launch a single physical product.
So it creates tremendous efficiencies across the entire R&D, testing, and supply chain process. You know what people want before you make it.
Exactly. And the ultimate application is this idea of deep gamification, making previously mundane, difficult, or socially awkward tasks genuinely engaging.
And we already see this driving retention in financial services. Robinhood celebrates a user's first stock investment, which makes investing feel like an achievement, not a chore.
And in learning, where Duolingo's game structure makes language learning the second-order effect of an enjoyable competitive experience.
Even traditional HR functions are being gamified effectively for talent management.
I love this example.
Ah.
IKEA launched a game on Roblox called The Coworker, where players perform tasks like assembling furniture and serving meatballs alongside virtual employees.
And the brilliant part was that IKEA used this as a recruiting funnel. They accepted applications for paid shifts in the virtual store, effectively turning the game into a fun, low-risk talent pipeline.
Incredible.
And finally, we have to consider the most profound psychological application of all this: the power of play itself. As one psychotherapist noted in the source material, the opposite of depression is to be in a physiological state of play.
Wow.
Games have this unique power to improve mental health and combat poor behavioral adherence for chronic illnesses, which accounts for 50% of chronic illnesses globally, but only if they prioritize fun over just superficial task management.
So if the system is just a superficial overlay of points and badges on a tedious task, it's still a chore.
It remains a chore. But if the design prioritizes flow, challenge, and intrinsic reward, it can genuinely drive positive, long-term behavioral change by activating the brain's engagement centers. It turns treatment or adherence into an enjoyable activity.
So to summarize for you, the necessity of a gaming strategy is no longer a strategic debate. It is, quite simply, table stakes for staying relevant, for engaging the modern consumer, and for building long-term loyalty.
And our sources provide a really clear roadmap. Start small, perhaps leveraging partners like Chipotle did. Be highly intentional about investing in partners who have deep expertise in the ecosystem. And critically, invest in that psychological research that goes far beyond demographics to ensure your strategy aligns perfectly with human needs and your brand's authenticity.
And that leads us right back to the core human element that's driving all 3.3 billion of those people who play games. Erica Weixnade of Adidas, she noted that games allow people to connect with their extraordinary self.
That's a great phrase.
It is. They provide a safe space, a digital reality where people can live up to their true selves. They can express their identity. They can achieve mastery, often away from the judgment or the societal pressures of real life.
A place to experiment and succeed.
Exactly. And if you, the listener, approach gaming by focusing on how it genuinely enables your audience to achieve that self-expression, that connection, and that mastery, you will tap into a well of sustained, authentic engagement that is unmatched by any other medium today. Now it's time for you to press play.